If you have a specific opponent that you always struggle against on the tennis courts, or if you have a particular style of player that you struggle against on the tennis court, maybe it's a net rusher or an aggressive baseliner or a defensive player that just gets everything back, then you've clicked on exactly the right video. In this lesson, I'm going to break down 4 steps that you can take right now to start doing a better job and be more successful versus whoever that specific opponent is or that specific group of players if they happen to fit into a particular style. This is top of mind for me because we've been publishing videos of me preparing for a specific opponent, and I also just recently had a student out on the courts who had lost to a particular opponent hundreds of times, somebody that was a local training practice partner of theirs, and they're starting to beat that person for the first time in their life after years and years. And so this is just something I've been thinking about a lot. So step 1 here. Step 1 is know thy enemy. You have to know very intimately what is it about this particular opponent or style of opponent that makes it so frustrating for you. What is it specifically that makes it difficult for you to beat this kind of opponent? It cannot be generalizations. It can't be, oh, they're so annoying. It can't be, oh, I just hate the way that they play. It can't be, oh, they're just better than me. It can't be, they're worse than me. And so like, they don't play real tennis. And so I don't know how to, like, none of these things are specific enough. Let me show you a video really quick. This is a quick clip from a training session that we just published yesterday. This is an example of me getting to know my upcoming opponent. So we'll just listen in really quickly here. It's so much more work. So my practice partner on the other side of the court is simulating a defensive player while I try to beat that defensive player. And we actually traded off. So right before this, I was playing defensive and I was just kind of pushing everything back in play without a lot of pace, just kind of adding backspin, trying to keep it deep. And so this is us flipping it now. And now my partner, my training partner, is being defensive and I'm trying to attack. Oh, that's good.
Short, short, short. Yep.
It's funny how stark the contrast is, and I felt refreshed after doing like the setup like slice turn, but the full swing like topspin turn, you gotta like manage your energy or else you burn yourself out. So notice how I'm talking about the contrast. Like I have a particular way that I like to try to play tennis. I like to be more forceful. I love coming to the net. I love kind of pressing the issue and being aggressive. And when I traded roles and I took on the experience of playing like a defensive player, the contrast to me was so stark. And honestly, it helped me. It was a big aha moment for me. As I was preparing for a defensive opponent and I sat back there and I kind of mimicked that style of play, all of a sudden I realized, wow, this is, like this, I'm conserving so much. Like normally I'm so like amped up and like, oh, I gotta be attacking, I gotta hit a winner, I gotta pressure, I gotta force the issue. And when I traded roles with that opponent and I just kind of relaxed and just used the speed that was coming towards me and I just kind of calmly, blocked it back, it made a lot of sense to me. All of a sudden I was like, oh, like this, I get it. Like, and the reason why my opponent is so successful is I can conserve energy using that style and put all the pressure on my opponent to come up with great shots. And oftentimes, obviously, that leads to mistakes. So this is just one specific situation. Like this is just my example. For you at home right now, I want you to have in mind as we go through the rest of this video, who is your nemesis? Who is the player or the style of player that gives you the most trouble? So that as we go through these different points, you can kind of start to create the roadmap for yourself. So have that player in mind right now. And what have you done to really study this opponent or this style of opponent and understand deeply what is it that makes them so successful? Again, they're annoying, they're too good, like these are not good enough answers. You need to have more details as far as why they're successful. So that's step number one. Step number two is expose the sticking points. And again, the key here is specificity. It's not good enough to just say, oh, I always make too many mistakes. It's not good enough to say, oh, they always hit tons of winners. It's not good enough to say, they just outlast me. There needs to be specifics, like when and how, what shot, at what point in the rally, what's the point scenario, so that you can specifically train those particular shots, those particular patterns, those particular strokes, whatever it happens to be. So let me show you a couple examples of that. Again, from my personal recent training with my partner. Let me pull up the right clip here. The first and kind of, for me, I think most core element that was necessary and is necessary. You get, by the way, if your nemesis happens to be a consistent player, somebody who just never ever misses, then you can just totally steal this blueprint, because that's who I was preparing for. So the first thing for me was, okay, I have to be able to attack, but do it consistently without beating myself. So here's a little segment here from that training.
I'm swinging.
And now actually Scott on the other side, he's doing the attacking. And I'm just placing the ball back.
That's a good ball, Scott. Good get.
So this is, Scott and I took turns doing this, and the emphasis was just on consistent offense. How can I hit the ball aggressively and also not make a mistake? And that's a super challenging thing for a lot of players. So that was kind of specific focus point number one. The second focus point rather was changing direction. So it's one thing to kind of hit the ball aggressively in general, but can you also change direction without beating yourself? So here's a little bit of insight into that as Scott and I were training together. So I'm just floating the ball cross court, and when Scott feels like he has the opportunity, he's going down the line.
Nice.
So we're starting cross court.
Here's my attack.
And then eventually, Scott goes down the line.
That's the killer. You got it. Nice shot, Scott.
So it's one thing to attack in the same direction again and again and again and hit the same corner with the same shot. It's a completely different thing to change direction while attacking without making an unforced error, without making a mistake. So Scott and I were specifically targeting that particular pattern. And then finally, a third specific way that we were preparing for a defensive style player was adding score. And so now we're playing points out, keeping track of score, seeing who can get to a certain number of points first, while the other person was mimicking that style of play. So there's competitive pressure here. So I'm playing the role of
Good get.
defensive player, and Scott is playing the role of attacking player. So this is how you can, let's see. Sorry, I've lost my my camera here. Let me grab it really quickly. This is how you can start to pull out very specific patterns, strokes, whatever it happens to be, and start to build the toolkit that you need against whoever this specific opponent is. If you just go out and do like kind of random hitting and drilling, then you're not going to have the toolkit necessary, sorry about that, in order to actually be successful against this type of opponent. Do not just do like general hitting. Don't just hit forehands and serves. I mean, yeah, forehands and serves are good, but if you want to be successful against whoever this particular opponent is or style of opponent is, then you have to do something more specific than that. So that's key number two, or lesson number two. Number 3 is create a precise plan. So what we just talked about in part 2 is like the building blocks. Those are like the elements that you can kind of pick and choose. Attacking consistently in one direction, attacking consistently while changing direction. If Scott and I had unlimited time, like we would have done lots of other things, like closing forwards, taking the ball out of the air, putting overheads away. We added score, adding competitive pressure and stress. Those are all kind of individual kind of building blocks. But what is your actual strategy going to be? And again, specificity here is super, super key. And I want you to listen in to Scott. Scott and I were preparing to play the same player, and I'd like you to listen to how Scott was describing what his actual plan of attack was going to be. So listen to Scott here as he talks about exactly what his strategy is going to be.
My plan is to kind of maintain a higher level of aggression, but not too high that I burn out.
Yeah.
That I want, like I said earlier, I want to keep the points shorter than 8 hits. I'll probably, hit a few serves. Prior to that, I'll probably, have somebody feed me some overheads just because I want to make sure those are clicking. Because right now, I sort of feel like I'm dogging those.
Yeah, if you want one shot to be automatic against Ben, it's definitely be the overhead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, watching.
I'm sure you're expecting yourself to be up there quite a bit.
For sure.
So notice how specific Scott is being with his language there. Like he has a specific number of shots in a point that he doesn't want to go past. As an example, he has a specific way of swinging. He wants to be aggressive, but not burn himself out. He doesn't want to be defensive and just go for consistency. He needs to be aggressive, but he knows if he goes past a certain level of intensity, then he'll just wear himself out and the match is going to be in control of the defensive player. And so he's also talking about coming forwards to the net. I'm going to have to make sure to hit some overheads because I'm planning on transitioning forwards to the net a lot. So if you combine all these things, short points, make sure my serve gets warmed up, transition forwards as much as possible. I need to be offensive and attacking, but not too high intensity or I'll burn myself out. When you start to add all these little individual pieces together and you kind of imagine in your mind's eye what that point looks like for Scott, like an ideal point, you can start to kind of paint a picture for specifically how do I want to craft this match? And if you don't have a very clear picture with a lot of individual specifics, like what Scott just laid out, then it's way too easy to go out there and just play tennis and just like try to hit good shots. And that's not good enough against a really good opponent, somebody who really makes you earn every single point. It's not good enough to just have a general plan of trying to play good. Trying to play well, I guess is better grammar. Okay, and then part 4. Sorry, I know I'm not on the main camera right now. I'm having trouble switching angles. I got to figure this out. But step 4 is find a training partner. So we've gone through, notice the progression here. So we've gone through the different steps of knowing our opponent, being very specific about what they bring to the table, then exposing like the individual specific ways that we fall short and then train those things, put together a very specific practice plan and a strategy when you actually play that opponent. So you're very clear about how you want to structure points. And then finally, you have to have somebody to train with, or you could do this with a ball machine too, or with a coach. It doesn't have to be another player, but somehow or another, you have to address all those specific things. And here's a quick clip of me talking about that. Here we go. Tell you what, if you can find somebody like who's willing to like drill and like set up specific, whatever you need to work on, somebody who's willing to, you scratch their back, they scratch yours. It's so valuable for a tennis player. However much effort and time it takes to find one person that'll do stuff like this, it's so worth it. Oh man. That's 1 point. So I want to highlight, and Scott Brody, I think, is actually live in the chat right now. Local players like Scott, like Mark Sanset, I respect and I admire them so much, and I appreciate them, and I'm so grateful for their camaraderie, for their support. Notice this rally, and I'll turn the audio down. This sped up rally here, where look at Scott on the other side, how he's just blocking the ball over and over and over. Like, this is basically like a lesson for Scott. It's like he's teaching a lesson here and just blocking the ball back. And this is what, I don't know, 15, 20 ball rally. And Scott, all he's doing here is facilitating for me. This is Scott giving like generously of his time. Finding a peer to do that with you and for you is not easy. And I understand that, and I realize that. But if you can find somebody who's willing to do it, and it does take effort and it does take time to find somebody who's willing to do that, it's so valuable, because you can then, by helping each other out, by supporting each other, you can both develop each other's games. By, when we get together, Scott says, man, I'm struggling with X, Y, or Z. I can help him with that. And then I can say, okay, well, how can you help me with this, this, and this? Like, I have this match coming up. I'm preparing for doubles or for singles, or I'm playing an aggressive baseliner or a defensive player, whatever it happens to be. If we can support each other, then we help each of us, we help the other person rise and level in competency. And that's such a valuable thing. So Scott, I want to thank you publicly. Mark has been a huge support to me. Mark, I know, is in the chat. I want to thank you publicly as well. So many people here in my local area have helped me prepare and train and get my body back in shape again. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is to hopefully inspire the rest of you watching to do the work of going around to your local club, your local courts, wherever you happen to play tennis, wherever the most number of players kind of gather. It's work, it's effort to go to a place like that, make friends, make connections, and find somebody who's kind of like-minded and understands what you're trying to accomplish. Man, this is really frustrating. I'm gonna have to reset this again. Sorry, everybody. I'll do a little bit of Q&A here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Don't know why this is happening, but at least I know eventually how to get back to the the right camera angle. So very, very quick overview here. Everything we just talked about. Know your enemy in detail, intimately. Expose your personal sticking points, specifically. Why is it that you struggle against this type of player? Create a precise plan, a game plan for when you play that match. Have as many specifics in mind as possible. And then step 4, find a training partner, a practice partner, somebody who can support you and you can support them in return. If you follow these steps, I promise you, you're going to have success. And it's all about having the specificity. I think that's really the key here. There's so many tennis players who they mean well and they try hard. They put in a lot of effort, but it's very broad, very general effort. And so day after day, month after month, year after year, they're out there busting their butt. They're running around. They're chasing the ball, but there's not enough granular, detailed, specific, like kind of precise focus on the different parts of their game that they really need to bring to the next level. There's not enough putting things on the back burner and focusing on what's really important. And if you can do that and then create a support system around yourself that you can keep pushing forwards, you can keep beating better and better players. I know, because this is what I help people do day in and day out. So you can do it too. I'm very, very confident you can. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat here. I'm just going to hang around for a little bit. I'm actually going to do another live stream later today where I'm going to give some more details on the upcoming matches coming out on our channel. Ken, can we see another Coach Eric video? I've been texting with him just the last couple days, and he's been super busy. And to be honest, kind of my focus went in a little bit different direction for a while, but I feel really solid physically about where I'm at now, and I'm kind of ready to get pushed again, I think, kind of up to the next level physically and in terms of my output. And so I'm texting with Eric, and I'm hopefully going to get a session with him set up pretty soon. We're really behind in our publishing. Just the funnel right now is massive. So hopefully I'll hit with him soon, but you won't see it for a little while. That's just the way things are right now with how much all the matches we have to get out, all the training sessions we have to get out that have already been shot is going to take a little while. But hopefully Eric will be back soon. Let's see what else. See what else we have here. What's your match schedule for MEP? Yeah, okay, so that's going to be the second stream today. I'm going to lay it out, who he's playing, what the order is. I'm going to answer all the most common questions we've been getting, so look about that. Look for that a little bit later today. If you have a match and you have an 8-minute warm-up, so your serve isn't really warmed up, do you serve for? No, definitely return, 100% return. I've done a podcast on this. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. Essential Tennis Podcast, Serve, Return. It's a relatively recent one. Sorry, I'm not finding it right away. But I've done a podcast episode on this where I kind of go in detail. And the answer is almost always return first. The only time you should serve first is if you feel fantastic physically. Your serve is like a pretty solid, like significant weapon of yours. Or maybe you have a hunch that there's a big mismatch in this match and you want to get out to kind of a quick, early lead. If your serve is not a huge weapon, if you don't feel fantastic physically, like if you're timing during the quick warm-up, if you're not feeling like you're really firing on all cylinders, and in particular, if you feel like, oh man, this might be like a tight match, the last thing you want to do is have your serve get broken immediately and have that psychological barrier or obstacle put right in front of you right away, and let your opponent get off to the races and get off to a fast start. If there's any reservation in your mind, you should return first. Like that's very, very short cliff notes of that podcast episode. Hey Mark, thank you for the super chat. Are we drinking IPAs or light beers next week? I'm not an IPA guy. I'm not a big light beer guy either. Like I like porters and stouts for sure, but ales as well, but not pale ales. Let's see, other questions. Hey Sario, what's up? Question, I'm a very aggressive player with a lot of topspin, both forehand, single-handed backhand, big serve, but out of shape. How can I manage my energy after set one I simply die? I mean, you should get in better shape. I wouldn't, if your natural style of play is offensive and aggressive, it's fantastic. Like, you basically have two choices here. You can change your style and conserve energy and be careful not to expend your energy, which it sounds like it would kind of go against your DNA, like the natural way you like to play tennis. Or you can get in better shape and play the kind of tennis you want to play, the way you want to play it, and feel fantastic and all the fringe benefits that come from being in better physical condition as well. Do that. Like start working out at home. If you're not working out at home for your tennis, it's very difficult to get in fantastic tennis shape just playing tennis. You can do it. Your chances of injury are going to be a lot higher. It's going to take a lot longer, and it's much more difficult to book time, and it's much more expensive for that matter, to book time and keep playing tennis enough to get yourself in really good shape. When in 20 or 30 minutes a day at home with no equipment, using just body weight stuff, you can get in fantastic shape. On our channel, on our YouTube channel, if you do a YouTube search for Essential Tennis Fitness, we've got a bunch of videos, including like full, like follow along workout that you don't need any equipment for. You can do it at home right now. Like it takes 15 or 20 minutes. And if you do that 3 or 4 times per week, in addition to your tennis, normal schedule, then your fitness level is gonna go way up really fast. So do that. Like that's the best answer in my opinion. I'm gonna study the poop out of this. Good for you, Saria. Let's see what else here. question-wise. I'm probably going to sign off here shortly. How to get mentally ready before a match. Be more positive. John, I've done a lot of Essential Tennis podcasts. Again, I would point you in that direction. I've done a ton of mental toughness topics. Here, let me really quickly, I'm going to do a Google search for Essential Tennis podcast mental. And let's see, a couple recent ones. Number 319, mental and emotional training for tennis. Number 316, the biggest tennis strategy lie. It's a good mental one. Conquering nerves in tennis, number 314. Gigi Fernandez interview about mental toughness, that was great. If you just scroll through the feed, there's all kinds of mental topics, and that's definitely kind of a big focus of the Essential Tennis podcast. So I would check that out for sure. All right, last one or two. Which is better, playing against a much stronger opponent or somebody who is weaker than yourself? Benny, I don't think it shouldn't be either or. Like, I know you're asking me like which is better. Like what do you struggle with? Like, I don't know the answer to that for you. I think it's critical for all players of all levels to play players right around your level, to be exposed to players at a half a level above, and also to make sure that you can confidently put away players a half a level below you. And I think in tennis in general, there's a cultural attitude that's really unfortunate that everybody wants to play with better players. And if everybody could only play with better players, then nobody would ever play tennis. And there's this condescension around playing worse players that I think is really unfortunate. And I'm speaking very broadly, very generally, like culturally, around like the world of tennis, amateur tennis. There sometimes is a little bit of like level, elitism or like snobbery. But I think playing players below you, like if you can't consistently put away somebody who doesn't have the technical abilities that you do, but they have the tactical and they have the physical, the fitness, and they have the mental, and you don't know how to overcome those things, but you're like, oh, they don't even hit topspin on their backhand, or their serve is so terrible. I don't want to play that person. You're doing yourself a huge disservice. I think there's like a nobility and like, I only play like big, strong, tough like opponents. But you have to learn how to put away people who don't have the technical skill that you do as well. It's just as important. So you should spend time hopping around, in my opinion. It's not one or the other. It's really critical to be able to do both. Done a video regarding variations in slice. Yeah, I have, but I don't think in a public video. Cool. In online training programs I have, but I don't think in a free lesson, I don't think I've talked about different flavors of slice. Yeah, you're welcome, Benny. Okay, I'm going to sign off for now because I'm going to do another stream later today, and I'm going to talk about our upcoming publishing plans. So thanks for hanging out today. Hopefully this lesson on preparing for and being more successful against a nemesis or a particular style of player, hopefully it's been super helpful. If it has been helpful, do me a favor and click the like button. Believe it or not, like it's like static. It's like white noise. Like YouTubers always say, click like and subscribe, but it actually really helps a lot. Like if you could just click the like button, it would really mean a lot to me. It helps support these videos and it helps support our channel. We invest a lot into the videos that we publish. There's people working all day, every day, getting the videos ready that we publish on this channel. So if this lesson's been helpful, and if in general you appreciate the content we publish, if you could just click the like button, that would be great. That would help us out a lot. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll be back again later today. So keep an eye out. I'm going to publish that stream time in just a little bit here. So thanks for hanging out. Talk to y'all again just a little bit later today. Take care.